with them about the concerns that we had for the girls. And talking with him about the concern we had for the girls, and asked them, kind of explained this kind of vague vision I had for working with the girls. And he and his wife said, you guys, you have to go for it. You have to do this, Barbara. You have to do this. And not only that, but he and his church financed the girls club probably for the first 5 years, and came down to see us every year and launched it. So really, he and his wife, Lynn, and their church in Indiana were absolutely part of the deep foundation of the church, so of the whole project. So it's wonderful to have him here with us today. So I'm really excited for my colleagues to tell you about what's going on in the countries where they are doing the girls clubs. I did the girls club for about 15 years in Chile on a pretty small scale, just about 100 girls at a time. But we felt like we consistently had some very positive results just with their outcomes, especially as we saw these young ladies grow into actually going to university, young women that we would have never expected that. So that's the reason Adalia asked us to work on expanding it. And so as I have been working to gather basically an evidence base for the Girls Club, meaning that all of the women that you see here have spent 2 years gathering data on the girls and I can go more into that later if you would like, but gathering data on the girls, on their social emotional development, and on their developmental outcomes that we know are indicators of their life trajectory. While they have been developing the girls clubs in all of these places, and I've been working on this data, we've been forming a plan for the future. So, which I'm finally getting to the question. So in the immediate future, I'm very excited because I've already gone with our colleague Ketley Pierre to Puerto Rico, and our Puerto Rican brothers and sisters have expressed a very concrete interest in starting the project this year. We've been invited to Cuba, and Adalia and I also have a meeting on the books for Colombia to start it. So for right now, the immediate future is to offer the project and support the project in those countries that in Latin America that demonstrate an interest and a need. And then in the long term, there is some interest in expanding it beyond Latin America, but that would be further down the road. So the first step would be that. And then the second step would be, once we hopefully have some evidence, some empirical evidence of the accomplishments of the club, then we will start working on getting some USAID grants to support the club so that it could be sustainable. And I know when you start saying, oh, we're going to work on grants, that sounds like so much confidence. And the grant world is really a brutal world. So you work for a long time to get grants, but we'll start looking at different funding. Once we have empirical evidence, that will put us in the game to start exploring different funding sources to be able to finance the clubs over the long term. I'm going to cut it right there.
Thank you, Barbara. And that will be my second question for everybody, but we'll hear first about Sue or Sarah. Do you want something, or you want Sue to go? Sarah, go for it.
I'm going now. I wanted Barb to start it off. So like I mentioned, I am a global servant. We are going to be serving in Mexico, and my husband, Louis, is new to International Ministries. I have been serving with International Ministries for now 5 years, maybe 6. I can't do math this early in the morning. But I served my first term in Bolivia, and in 2019 was when Barb and Adalia came and visited me in Bolivia and talked about the Girls Club, and Barb invited me to join her in collaborating with the curriculum, specifically with the arts and crafts that the curriculum offers the girls, and then also the researching more heroes as well.
And you wrote some lessons too.
And some lessons as well. Sorry, there was a pop-up that got in the way. And so for me, as this whole transition of different locations and my husband joining, this has really given me purpose. And when we were in Mexico on a vision trip, we met with women that are leaders in our national partner called Kobami, and they were very, very interested in the program. So much so that we trained them on Zoom in 2022, and they have already carried out the program. There was 25 girls that participated last year, and now there are new girls, 25 more. So it doubled in size, which is a total God thing. And one of the stories that I really like to share is the one of the clubs is located in an orphanage in Oaxaca. And these girls have felt very abandoned and um, not treated well by their families. And even what I hear from the mentors, it is a very, very strict orphanage for the girls. And so when the mentor created a relationship with the women that lead the orphanage, they decided they could start a club. And these girls were really closed off at first, of course, because of the trauma they experienced. But through the love of Christ that poured out of the mentor, they were able to really build this trust with this mentor, and they love the clubs. They love having her come every week, and their um, their face just changed. They just like started lighting up, and they laugh and they play, and they know that they are loved by God, and that they can just have a better future because of the love that they received, and the safety that they received from the mentor. So thank you for coming and being a part of today.
Thank you, Sarah. Sue, you want to share about your future plans, near future?
Well, mine is a little different. I began working with International Ministries in 1991 in Latin America. And actually, my future plans are retirement next year. But I plan to retire here in Costa Rica. So that means I'm still going to be working with the girls' clubs even after I retire, because the other person on the committee is also a retired IM missionary, Ruth Mooney. And we believe very strongly in this ministry, so much so that when we talk to the mentors after they finish the 2-year program, and the mentors said that they did not want to let go of the girls. So we wrote a 3rd-year program. It's not technically Talita Kumi, but it's a follow-up so that the mentors can continue to work with the girls. And we have 3 groups that continued on for that. And we also have a waiting list for next year already of groups that want to have clubs. So we have, we're increasing quite a bit.
And don't you have like 100 girls now, Sue, or more?
Oh, yes, we
Yeah, like
do.
more than 100 girls. They're just like crazy in Costa Rica.
Yeah. So this year we're working with 11 groups, 8 of which are the Talita Kumi, and then we have about 5 more groups who want to start next year. So it's as soon as people hear about it, they would like to be part of it. And I have to also mention that we are so grateful because it's the national women who have such a great love for these girls. We're not the ones giving the club, it's the local women who are doing this. We train them, And we keep giving them workshops to keep them up. But they are the ones that work with these girls week in and week out, and they just love them so much. And that's why it works, because they are showing God's love to these girls. And you can't beat it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue. Sarah?
Hey everyone again. So Sarah McCurdy, my position right now is Regional Coordinator for Education in Iberoamerica and the Caribbean. I've been with International Ministries for, I think it's 11 years now. So 11 years ago, my husband and I were both global servants with International Ministries, and we served in Costa Rica for our first term, and then partial term in Mexico. And a couple of years ago, we transitioned. My husband went back into the pastorate here in the US, and I stayed with International Ministries and in my current position. And so with Talita Kumi, I work with them with along in the area of literacy and developed a literacy training seminar that I co-taught for the first time this past February in the Dominican Republic with the Talita Kumi Girls Club country coordinator, whose name is Lady. We taught that to 6 mentors, and it was an excellent seminar, well received. All the mentors left away feeling better equipped, just educationally, having learned a lot, and some educational tools that they were given. They were all given a partial mini library to take back to their clubs with them. And so they have skills and now tools to help the girls with their literacy levels, because a lot of the girls are behind in their reading levels, and the mentors want the girls to get caught up. So not only can they do better academically in school, but also get more out of the curriculum of the material for the club. And I spoke with Lady the other week, and they have started adding about 15 minutes before the club officially starts, where the girls can come if they want, and they can pick a book from the library and just sit and spend 15 minutes reading, or the mentor can help them with their reading skills. And they're finding that that is being well received by all the girls, and the girls are excited to have books and reading materials. So I guess future plans is to continue to teach the literacy seminar to the other mentors and the other countries where the clubs are at, and to continue to raise funds and deliver more mini libraries to the other clubs, because the end goal is that each club would have their own complete mini library, which is about 60 books roughly of various Spanish reading levels.
What kind of books are included in the mini library?
So there's a variety of books. First off, a variety of reading levels. So very basic beginning reader up to long chapter books. And so some of the books complement the curriculum, the Talita Kumi lessons. So, and even expand on the stories of the heroes that are used in the lessons. Many of the stories, the books are wholesome. They're about developing yourself as a person, emotions, how you can be a better citizen, and also just historical novels of famous women throughout Latin America, or people who made a big impact in the world.
Thank you. Jay, you'd like to share a little bit?
Sure. As I had mentioned, I'm assisting with the technical needs with the online master's program, theological master's program. It's a Latino and Latinas Ministries with Palmer Theological Seminaries, and with the campus in Mexicali. But at the moment, I would say the future for me here is actually to continue what I just basically started. I just moved here in Tijuana, Mexico, And the goal is to assist the children who cannot go to school, because I'm assisting at Deborah's house, and it's a refuge for women and children who are victims of domestic violence. And so in this safe environment, the children actually cannot go to school in regular settings. So right now, for a long time goal, Adalia's goal, to have this, happen. Now it is actually happening. So we have a few children that were partnered with a local Baptist school in town, and we're doing this Zoom online. And so the kids are very excited doing this. So yeah, just other than that is I do Bible studies with the women and just be there for them, just bring fresh air and God's love to the women because of their past situation, and now they're healing and just waiting for what the future holds for them and help them move on. But in regards to me, I'm just being there and for the women and mostly for the children, so to be in school, so then they won't be behind with their schooling. Once they leave Deborah's house, they can move on to which grade they're in. So yeah, very exciting. See the kids excited go to school online.
Thank you, Jay. Russell had mentioned a question and Sue already answered about if there is any kind of persecution in our ministry, in your ministries, and Sue already answered that says when she served in Cuba, Christianity was looked down and considered problematic by the government, but however persecution has ceased, and Christians basically work one-on-one with their neighbors to show them Christ's love. And we had a house churches which invited the neighbors to come for prayer for their needs if they didn't believe, and the Christians began trying to show that they care about their communities by working in neighborhood programs. And she prays for Russell and his situation, and so Russell already answered that he will remember all of you in your prayers. So thank you, Rosa, for this question. My second question was more related to the Talita Kumi Girls Club itself. What it is that inspire you, Barb? Because I don't think everybody in this group knows more. So would you explain a little more what the Talita Kumi tries to achieve, and the program and what it is that does with these girls these 2 years,
Sure. So the program initially began when because I went to Chile just to work with women in economic development. And after about 5 years, I realized two things from listening to our women, that most of our women who had not completed high school, who were my age or younger, had not completed high school because they had become moms as teenagers. And that because they had limited education, there were very limited things that we could do with them in a sense of economic development in the formal economy. And so hearing that this reality, and also hearing from them that what they wanted from me more than anything was to help their daughters have a different path, a better options, and more opportunity. So what began as really a response to teenage pregnancy has actually we've realized that teenage pregnancy is kind of the tip of the iceberg, right? That the issue in Latin America and in many countries around the world with the women from the lowest SES is that the girls have this intersecting risk of not only poverty, but of gender bias, of being objectified and exploited as women. And so how do we help girls who are in the lowest SES? How do we give them the tools to navigate really a hostile and adverse environment that is where they are objectified and exploited? And so the club takes a woman very intentionally, as Sue mentioned, from the neighborhood, from the context that the girls live in, who knows the dynamics, who knows the families, and who has experienced the reality of these girls. And we train her, and this is wonderful because these are often women who are overlooked by their churches. They're overlooked by society also. And we tell her, you know, you have very important gifts for the girls, for the women in this community. So we train her to mentor and to lead this group. And she gathers up 5. She usually starts with 5, and by the end of the year, it's around 10 or 11 girls in a group, and to work through a curriculum or a program that is based on the 7 classical Christian virtues, which are faith, hope, and love, courage, temperance, wisdom, and courage. I always forget one as I'm trying to courage, temperance. Sarah, help me. Courage. What am I leaving out? Courage.
Did you say justice?
And justice. Yes, and justice. And as they work through this program guide, they also form themselves in their groups, or they organize what we would call community engagement activities. So we take them into the community and they decide what they want to do, and they'll go visit people in the hospital, or they'll go visit retirement homes, or some of them even just pick up the trash in the neighborhood, but ways for them to serve their community and see that they can make their world better. And the idea of the 7 classical Christian virtues are basically that these are the pivotal qualities that actually support the human psyche. This is the way we were meant to be. So we help girls become who they were meant to be, not who the world tells them that they are. And that is our focus. And I could go on and on, but I'll try not to. But what I think is so beautiful is that the ancient Christian church saw the virtuous life as the key to the Christian life. And they said there are 3 prongs that build the virtuous life. It is first teaching and learning, then practice, and then the grace of God. So those are the 3 pillars of the Talita Kumi program, that we teach them what the virtues are through games and through crafts and through heroes and through lessons and through guided conversation times. But then we ask them to practice those things in very practical ways. And then we focus on their life with Christ and following Jesus and the divine intervention that we know will give them the strength to take their life forward. So that's probably, that's brief, but that's probably more than we even have time for. So does that answer the question thoroughly? Yeah. So it's much more than tech pregnancy prevention now, because the problem is much deeper than pregnancy prevention. It's the devaluing of human beings that are vulnerable. And it is taking those human beings and that are vulnerable and giving them the protective environment that they need to grow, to be strong and change their communities.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Barb. Deirdre asked a question on how the countries are chosen where missionaries go. And that we had one of our encounters yesterday was exactly about our missiology, Deirdre, but it is basically, we know that God is already in serving and in action in all over the world through so many Christians in the world. And what we do as international ministries is we get invited by our partner who has this vision and this call to serve God in certain needs, because they know better the culture, they know better the language, they know better their needs, and they invite international ministries, and they say, we want to partner with you. Would you help us to work along with us? And that's how we end up in a country by collaborating in ways that we can, to serve together God and to bring God's kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. So I don't know if that answers your question, but mostly is by invitation by our partners that we always go to be with them. And we have another
Thank you.
missionary.
Yeah,
Yes, go ahead. Who was gonna say something? You're
yeah,
there?
it does. Yeah, it does answer my question. Yes, thank you.
Good. Thank you. So yes, we also have another missionary. The leader is here that just joined us. You want to introduce yourself, Delirious?
I believe.
You're muted.
You're dancing in San Francisco at the Golden Gate Bridge. Well, it's not working, but Delirious works in Tijuana, Mexico with at Deborah South, a shelter for women and children victims of domestic violence, as well as together with her husband, Moise, who is Haitian, and they work with migrants and refugees and displaced people in Tijuana, with different churches working with as shelters and trying to do a holistic ministry in that. So she had yesterday one of the encounters last night to talk about that. So I don't know if anybody else wants to add have a question. Let me see. Kit, let's see. What do you say, Kit? It is IM missionary that we go, yeah, that were invited, yes. How do your short-term missions best benefit your programs? Samantha asked. So anybody wants to answer that?
Barb, would you like to share about the time with the short term in Costa Rica?
Sure. So for us, I think that short-term missions look different in every country, right? Because the needs are different in every country. So for us, when we were in Chile, we had the Indiana group come down every year, and then every 2 years. No, I think every year for 10 years. I can't remember how many years. And honestly, short-term missions always give us an opportunity to do things financially that we couldn't do otherwise, because people love to come and do projects, and that is a very cool thing. So what the Indiana group always did, they came, and at the end of our school year for Talita Kumi, we always had a big picnic, a big event for the girls. We brought all the girls together and spent the day out in the country somewhere, which is something that these girls rarely get an opportunity to do. And it was wonderful in Costa Rica this last January, which was summertime there. One of our great supporting churches, Crossroads Baptist Church in Denver, was looking for a country to go to. And I suggested Costa Rica, and we went down to Costa Rica, and they financed a 2-day camp for these girls, that all of them live in these incredibly precarious situations. And many of the girls, it was the very first time they'd ever been in a swimming pool. For I would say most of the girls, it was the first time they'd ever been away from home overnight in a good place and had ever been to a camp or anything like that. So these are really life-changing events. So to be able, if you want to just come down and learn and meet the people, It's incredible for you to be able to give some sort of material support that would not be possible otherwise. But then also it is so I've never seen a group come down that doesn't want to go back because it's life-changing for the church also. So those, there's lots of building projects, but I would say if you're going to prioritize one thing is if you're going to do a building project, that's good, but it's easy when you do a building project to just be with you, just be with your group. I'm going in and I'm building something. And if you don't meet the people that you're serving, if you don't spend time with them, you're missing out on the very best part. You're missing out on what is really going to be life-changing for you and for them, which is building those relationships and seeing the kingdom in these people. That's it. You go down and you see the kingdom of God in ways that you've never seen it before, and it changes your life. It really does. I think Delirious, can you talk now?
Yes, finally. Hello to everybody. I'm glad to be with you. And I am, you can tell I am not a technique expert. So, but I'm glad to be here with all of you. And I am, well, I wanted to say about what we are doing here in Tijuana. We are working with Deborah House and also with migrants that come from Haiti, from Africa, and from Central America. And in Deborah House is a haven for women and children victims of domestic violence, and working with these women and these children is amazing. So if you want to come and visit us, you please come and know what we are doing. They are coming from all kind of violence. Right now, we are human that have been trafficked by their own husband. We have one of them in the shelter. We have women that has been mothers from 14 years, and we have one that is 31 and have already 5 children. And now I'm going with her to a lab, so to check if she's pregnant. So we have people in great need of love. And when you come to the house, and show them love and show them that you care for them, that you pray for them, that you, even though you don't know them, God knows them, and through you, and through the service of the volunteers that comes to the house is how God shows love to them, and the assurance that God is listening to their prayers. And it's the same with the migrants that we work with. It's like Moise is working mostly individually with migrants, with the individual needs, rather than with a huge group of people. But it's like serving the needs of those who are in greatest needs within those who are in great needs. So it's a great work, and it's a great blessing and honor to be part of International Ministries. I am my 26 years this year of working with International Ministry, and it's good to see all of you and be part of this good family. John Grisham, I love you. I'm sorry, I have you in my thank you for partnering with IAM for all these years. So thank you to all of you. Thank you. My colleagues are great. It's been great with you. So thank you.
Thank you, Delirious. Kit, you wanted to.
Yeah, so one of the ways that short-term mission teams have been helpful here in Thailand is, we do have some language barriers, and so it can be difficult for short-term teams to come to Thailand because you really can't get around with English very, very well. I mean, and have much of meaningful interaction directly with local people. And so I've brought teams over that do a retreat for our Thailand Baptist Missionary Fellowship, which includes missionaries from American Baptist, British Baptist, Cooperative Baptist, Australian Baptist. We have some folks from Nagaland. And so we have this organization that meets together once a year to encourage one another. And so I've had teams come and they will bring someone to do devotional teaching, worship music, pastoral care and counseling, and a children's program and a youth program. And so a whole team will come for like 4 days to do that, and then also visit with our project so they can learn more about what we're doing in the various ministries here in Thailand.
Thank you, Kit. I was going to ask you also if you could share a little bit, because we have children and women in common, you know, in this as people who are the most vulnerable in our society. So would you share a little bit of your work since you are here?
Yeah, it seems we do have women and children's ministries in this particular group. Yeah, so at the New Life Center Foundation, we were founded in 1987 by American Baptist missionaries Paul and Elaine Lewis. And then the first director of New Life Center was Lauren Bethel. The second director was Karen Smith. And then I came and began serving with Karen. And then after Karen left, Jenny Podzinski came for about 6 years and served. And so we are so grateful for the opportunity to work with this community of people. And we have 16 national staff who are all tribal people, and we work directly with adolescent tribal girls and young women who are survivors of trauma, including sexual abuse, domestic violence, and trafficking in persons. So we have a long-term residential program. We have a scholarship program supporting over 300 students in university. We have community-based development projects. We just did a whole coffee project. We're also doing counseling in the community now more than ever. There's tons of need for that. And then last year, the Thai government Department of Human Security and Social Development and the Thai police approached the New Life Center and asked if we would open a residence in Chiang Rai in which we would provide short-term residential care for victims of trafficking and other kinds of trauma, and until the police could have the opportunity to conduct an investigation. And Thai social workers then also come and work with us on the investigation process. And New Life Center assists with victim identification. So when people come, we're not always sure exactly what happened to them, because when the police go in and bust a situation like the call center, and they bring a bunch of people to us, then we need to do interviews and figure out who are victims, who are traffickers, what sort of trauma have they experienced. And so that project just opened last year. And since then, we've actually housed over 150 people for that project. And 71 of them turned out to be victims of trafficking. The others were victims of child smuggling, sexual abuse, domestic violence, and other kinds of trauma. And so we may house them for just a few days or even up to a month during the investigative process. And then normally we would then reintegrate them with our own communities. So that's in a nutshell what we're doing at New Life Center.
Thank you, Kit. John, would you share from the short-term missions point of view, what is it that you have seen in so many years as a volunteer bringing groups to Costa Rica and other places? What has been the most joy that the group takes, you know, the short-term mission does, or learning, you know, whatever it is from the perspective of the church or the volunteers that come to short-term missions?
Thank you, Adalia. I think one of my learnings that I did not anticipate was the importance of returning as a short-term volunteer. My early assumptions were we would go someplace and then we would go someplace else and then we would go someplace else. But too many, there have been a number of occasions where our hosts in Costa Rica greeted us saying, "You came back," that we are important enough and valued enough that you wanted to, that you made it possible to return. That's been an unexpected joy. To be received as a friend that's trusted and has returned on a number of occasions is truly a difference maker. It's not always easy to do that, not always easy to work that out, but to find ways to continue in relationship.
Thank you, John. Thank you. So one last question from me, and I think it's, do we have time? Yeah. What is it that what gives you joy, when it comes to talking as global servants, what is it that you have learned in all these years? What kind of things? Yes, Kit.
Just saying bye, Sue.
She's been by. Okay, Barb, go for it.
Oh, I was saying bye to Sue too. Would somebody else, I want to give someone else a chance. I can certainly share, but I want to give somebody else a chance to share if someone else would like to. Sarah, would someone else like to share? Delirious?
Well, I said, joy comes.
Video
When you see God working through you in the life of those who God brought to you. I think that that's what gives me joy, is the fact that God used us to help the needs of those who He bring to our lives and to our ministries. So serving is always joy.
Thank you, Delirious. Sarah McCurdy?
I have a very similar answer to the question as Delirious. It's when God brings people to you and your paths cross and you just see God working in their lives, changing their hearts and their lives. That's what brings joy. It's just seeing God working around the world for His kingdom and His kingdom growing and people growing and in who they are in Christ and in their relationship with Christ and their relationships with others. That's what brings me joy.
Thank you.
Could I just echo a comment?
Yes.
I'd just like to echo things John was saying about going back and about relationships. If some of you are thinking about that kind of short-term visit, one of the meaningful things for us was that we always divided our team up and stayed in the homes of people in the churches that we were visiting. And we saw how that developed long-term relationships with the repeated visits to Chile. My wife passed 2 years ago, but I had the opportunity this January to take both my daughters, who had been once on trips to Chile, back with me to visit our sister church relationship there. And it was just a big joy to reconnect with people and for them to see my grown daughters and daughters to see people they met 20 years ago. But just not just assuming we'll go visit everywhere in the world, although I've had the privilege of being in Mexico and Thailand as well, but Chile became a special part of our lives. Thank you.
I would like to give a short comment about the short mission trips. The question was how to benefit our ministries. But I just want to add that if you go on a short mission trips, it's not just to benefit us, the missionaries and the ministries, but it's to benefit you because it changes your life, it changes your heart, it changes the way you see the world. Um, because of all this chaos that's happening in the world, now you're focusing on this one particular thing and it changes your heart. And the reason why I'm sharing that, because before I became a missionary, I've been to so many mission trips, and I was just like, that was that one day later where I said to God, Lord, send me. And here I am. Now that's history, but here I am. And to comment about what brings benefit to us as missionaries is like Sarah and Deliri said, is joy. Just like last week. So as I mentioned, not only that I'm assisting children, giving them education, but as Deliris was sharing, we bring joy to the women, and we see God's hands working, because like last week, we help and assist one of the women crossed into the US, because there are certain situations with the women at Deborah's house that in every cases, in each cases are different. And so these are women who had different issues in their past, and so they just need to go somewhere else, so they'll be safe. And so to see that person crossing into a safe place, it brings joy to me, and it strengthened my faith that we serve a loving, an amazing God. And here he is, it's just amazing. So yeah, it's totally joy. I just want to share that.
Thank you, Jane. Well, thank you,
I-
everyone. Again, Sarah, go for it.
Oh, I just wanted to say, just kind of in closing, of what brings me joy is that, we are invited into God's mission, and that wherever we are in the world, we can be part of God's mission and sharing the love of Christ with whoever is near you. So I think this global encounter, this time together, has brought me a lot of joy that God is at work in the world, and that God's kingdom is evident in people's lives, and people's hearts are being transformed, and so it just brings me joy that we get to do this all together and be a part of God's mission.
Thank
I
you.
would just say that this October will mark 16 years since my first overseas volunteer trip, and it indeed has changed my life. Of course, when I left Haiti for the first time back after 8 months of volunteer service there, I was not going back to Haiti. And actually, in this past February marks 50 years since Bernice and I went to Haiti the first time. And so, yes, volunteer service does make a difference, both to the individual and to the church that sends them.
Thank you, Herb. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us. Our time is up, but it has been a pleasure. And on behalf of International Ministries and all our global servants who are here, thank you for being with us and sharing God's love by just presence, you know. Have a good day, and may God bless you.
God bless you all. Bye.
Bye.
Blessings.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
It was
Bye. Bye.
me.